A mysterious village is being overrun by man-eating rats and no one can stop them. As a last hope, the village chief brings in a piper who promises to drive every rat away. But after the rats are gone, the piper starts playing his flute once again. This time, instead of rats, every child in the village begins following him. By the next morning, not a single child is left behind. The truth behind why he did it is far more shocking than anyone could have imagined. It will make you think that everyone eventually gets what they deserve. This is the story of the 2015 South Korean thriller The Piper. Hello friends, welcome to our story. The year is 1950. The Korean War between communists and capitalists has ended. A father and his son are seen walking through the forest with bags on their shoulders. This simple-minded father, whose name is Woo-ryong, is traveling through the forest with his 10-year-old son Young-nam. They are heading to the city of Seoul. Actually, Young-nam is sick. They are going to Seoul to show him to a doctor. On the way, they are caught in a severe storm and take shelter in an abandoned house in the forest. At night, Young-nam has a toothache and also coughs a lot. Woo-ryong gives his son medicine and tells him to sleep. Young-nam rests his head on his father's lap and asks, "Will my illness be cured if we go to Seoul?" Woo-ryong tells his son, "You don't have any illness. It's just a cough and it will get better very soon." Actually, Young-nam has tuberculosis, but his father tells him not to worry. Then he plays the flute and puts his son to sleep. The sound of the flute seems to carry a supernatural power. The next day, as they continue walking through the forest, they notice a hidden path. The entrance to that path was broken by the storm the previous night. Following that path, they arrive at a village that has no name or mark on the map of Korea. As soon as they enter the village, they see some children playing. One of the children has part of his ear cut off. As soon as the children see them, they run away in fear. This surprises them. After that, they notice that the villagers are also behaving strangely toward them. No one comes forward to ask where they have come from. It feels like they have not seen any new people in this village for many years. At that moment, the village chief notices them from a distance. He signals them to come with him. As Woo-ryong walks through the crowd, he notices that everyone is whispering about something. At the same time, the villagers keep looking up at the sky for some unknown reason. At that moment, someone comes and tells the chief that they are destroying everything. How long will this continue? The chief replies that there is no need to worry. This year they will be able to drive them away. At that point, a girl cooking food is shown. Her name is Mi-suk. After that, Woo-ryong sits down to eat with the chief and starts talking about himself. He says, "I play the flute and also sell some herbal medicine. Somehow the two of us managed to survive. My son has a severe cough, so I am going to Seoul to show him to a doctor." Saying this, Woo-ryong takes out a note from his bag and gives it to the chief. He says that if they can reach this American doctor within a month, then Young-nam can receive treatment. At that moment, we see that instead of an address, the note contains a written message in English. The chief does not understand English, but he hides that and tells Woo-ryong that it does not say 1 month, but rather next week. This means the chief does not want them to stay in the village even for a single day. However, Woo-ryong requests the chief, saying that after traveling such a long distance, they have found this village, and it would be very helpful if they could stay for 2 days. Then, seeing the chief smoking tobacco, Woo-ryong gives him a box of foreign cigarettes. Pleased, the chief allows them to stay for 1 more night. Now, a naming ceremony for a child is taking place in the village. At that moment, Young-nam notices the child's cut ear and feels surprised. Meanwhile, during this happy event, Woo-ryong plays the flute to entertain the villagers, but their faces remain very serious. On the other hand, Mi-suk is frying eggs for everyone. At that moment, when a bloody yolk comes out of one of the eggs, she screams in fear. However, seeing this, the village chief, instead of being afraid, becomes very happy and tells everyone there is nothing to fear. He says this is actually good news because it is a sign that Mi-suk has received the spiritual power of their shaman. Later that night, the chief's son Nam-so comes to meet him privately. He informs the chief that the gate was broken during the storm yesterday, and that is how those two were able to enter. He also asks how long they will stay, since curiosity is growing among the villagers. Before things go too far, they need to be sent away. The chief tells him not to worry and says they will be sent away soon. After that, the chief calls Woo-ryong and tells him not to let the villagers know that the war outside has already ended. Woo-ryong becomes confused about why the chief would say such a thing. After dinner, the entire village gathers together. The chief tells everyone that Woo-ryong and his son are war refugees. He says Woo-ryong's leg was injured by a bullet during the war, which is why he walks with a limp. Hearing this, the villagers become curious and start asking questions about the outside world and how long the war will continue. However, the chief changes the topic and says they are already very tired, and he is also worried about his son, so it is better not to discuss these things now. He says they need to leave again tomorrow to see a doctor. Hearing this, Woo-ryong feels both disappointed and surprised. Why is the chief trying so hard to send them away? At that moment, someone from the crowd says that they are causing them great trouble. The chief had promised to do something, but so much time has passed, and now they have even entered the grain storage. The chief responds that if they do not trust him, then they can try to drive them away themselves. He asks who has the courage to do it. Young-nam suddenly says that his father does. Woo-ryong quickly covers his son's mouth. However, he understands who they are talking about. He then asks if they are troubled by rats. When the villagers agree, he smiles. The chief's son interrupts and says not to think of them as ordinary rats. They have tried every kind of poison, but nothing worked. Woo-ryong then says he can try. The villagers ask the chief to give him a chance. However, the chief says they are leaving the next morning, so it is better not to involve them in this matter. Still, Woo-ryong requests a chance so he can repay the chief's kindness. After that, Woo-ryong starts playing his flute. As soon as the sound begins, the roof of the house where they are standing starts shaking strongly, because all the rats hidden inside begin to move. Everyone is shocked. Woo-ryong says that his music has a special effect, and all animals and insects are attracted to it. This creates hope among everyone present, which the chief cannot ignore. So, the chief announces that if he can truly free the village from rats, he will be given a reward equal to the price of a cow. The villagers become emotional at the chief's generosity. However, Woo-ryong says he does not need that much money. If he is given the price of a pig, he can treat his son. The chief agrees to this. The next day, throughout the day, Woo-ryong carefully inspects every alley, drain, and corner of the village. He observes where the rats might be hiding. He discovers that the village is surrounded by mountains on all sides, and the wind flows downward through the village. From this, he gets an idea. Meanwhile, Young-nam spends time with Mi-suk. She is responsible for taking care of their food and accommodation. Young-nam does not know why, but in her care and smile, he begins to see a reflection of his mother. Because of this, he starts imagining Mi-suk as his mother beside his father. At that moment, his father also arrives there and thanks Mi-suk for taking such good care of his son. At that time, the village chief also arrives and mentions that rainwater is leaking from the roof of Mi-suk's house. Hearing this, Woo-ryong offers to repair the broken roof himself. After the chief leaves, Woo-ryong climbs onto the roof and starts repairing the broken part. At the same time, he begins to sing a song, expressing his feelings for someone. In fact, Woo-ryong had liked Mi-suk from the first moment he saw her. While sitting on the roof, Woo-ryong notices the chief's son secretly feeding raw meat to the rats behind the house, the same way animals are fed. This surprises him. So, during dinner in the evening, Woo-ryong directly tells the chief everything he saw and asks if he should keep it a secret. The chief replies that Nam-so does this on his instructions, and there is a big story behind it. He explains that after a certain day, the rats became extremely aggressive. Despite all efforts, their number could not be reduced. They became so aggressive that they started eating cats. They even began attacking the village children. To protect the children, they had to kill cats and feed their meat to the rats. Woo-ryong then asks what that particular day was. The chief tells the story. During the war, soldiers had come very close to the village. Because of this, everyone left the village. A shaman and a few sick people stayed behind because they refused to leave. Later, when they learned that the soldiers had not reached the village, they returned. After coming back, they saw that those sick people had been eaten by the rats. From that time, the rats developed a taste for meat. To keep them under control, they had to be fed animal meat. Although it sounds strange, it can make anyone uneasy. Woo-ryong feels even more strongly that the village needs his help. From the next day, he starts working seriously with the help of his son. They go through the forest and gather different materials. In the evening, he gathers everyone and explains his plan. They have crushed the collected materials into powder. There are two types of powder, one white and the other yellow. The white powder has no smell and does not harm humans, but if inhaled, it may cause slight dizziness. So everyone should cover their nose and mouth with cloth. However, rats cannot tolerate this smell and will try to escape from it. The yellow powder has a strong smell that rats are attracted to. First, he will go to a high hill, light a fire, and add the white powder into it. The smoke will travel down with the wind into the village. As a result, the rats will come out of their hiding places to escape the smell. Then he will spread the yellow powder from each house toward the outside of the village. The rats will follow this scent and move out of the village. The next day, the plan begins. Woo-ryong starts drawing lines using the yellow powder through every house, alley, and corner of the village. All these lines meet at one point in the center of the village. From there, the line is extended into a cave located in the forest, so that the rats, following the smell, enter the cave and get trapped. After that, Woo-ryong goes to the high hill and lights a fire. He adds the white powder into the fire, and the smoke starts spreading down the hill. All the villagers stand with cloth covering their faces. As Woo-ryong starts playing the flute on the chief's signal, the fake shaman Mi-suk begins her act. She closes her eyes and starts shaking bells loudly. Seeing this, the villagers fold their hands in front of her. After a while, all the rats start coming out due to the sound of the flute and the smell of the smoke. They come out from every alley, corner, house, and drain. Seeing such a huge number of rats, the villagers are shocked. Mi-suk knows that she has no role in this. Everything has been done by Woo-ryong, and she is only following the chief's instructions. The rats quickly start leaving the village, following the line of yellow powder. Following the scent, all the rats reach the small cave in the forest. However, Woo-ryong becomes exhausted, and the rats are moving very fast. In the rush, he falls down. If there had been any delay, it would have become impossible to trap them. At that moment, his son Young-nam arrives there and uses the door prepared for the cave to guide the rats inside. Together, the father and son successfully complete the task. Woo-ryong uses a large stone to close the entrance of the cave so that all the rats remain trapped inside. When they return to the village, people praise them a lot. That night, a celebration is held. Everyone is very happy with the success, and the whole village attends the celebration except the chief. Meanwhile, Woo-ryong talks to Mi-suk at night. He knows that her husband died in the war. Woo-ryong says that after his wife left, he has only felt that same emotion with her. He says he knows she is going to become the village's new shaman, and that the decision is difficult, but asks if she would agree to go with him. At that moment, the chief sees them. Because of this, he later calls Mi-suk privately and threatens her. He reminds her how she once came to him asking for help, and in exchange for staying in the village, she had agreed to do anything. Now she wants to run away with that man to the city. Mi-suk, crying, says she cannot become a shaman and does not know how to do any of this. The chief tells her she does not have to do anything, just imitate the dead shaman. This is why she always lives in fear. The chief is also afraid that if she reveals the village's past, or if Woo-ryong tells everyone that the war has ended, then everything he has built will collapse. At this point, a flashback is shown. Many years ago, the chief and the villagers left the village. They left behind the sick people to die and did not take them along. Later, when the chief returned with the others, the shaman did not allow them to enter the village. At that time, the chief started hurting the children so that they would cry loudly. Hearing the cries, the shaman felt sympathy and allowed them back into the village. That was his biggest mistake because the chief did not want to live as an ordinary person. Meanwhile, the villagers have started feeling a connection to Woo-ryong's flute music. The chief overhears all these conversations. After that, the chief and his son make a plan. They gather all the men of the village and tell them that no one knows about this village. So how did Woo-ryong arrive here? It is not a coincidence. They claim he is a communist spy, and if he is allowed to leave, he will bring the army here and destroy their village. The villagers become afraid. The next day, everyone starts turning against Woo-ryong, even though they were speaking kindly to him just the day before. Woo-ryong cannot understand what suddenly changed. At night, Woo-ryong asks Mi-suk if she will go with him. Mi-suk says she loves him too and is no longer afraid. Hearing this, Woo-ryong becomes very happy. He says he will go to the chief and collect the reward money, and the next day the three of them will leave together. However, Mi-suk says they do not need the money and can live by doing small jobs in the city. But Woo-ryong needs the money for his son's treatment, so he decides to go to the chief. He goes to the chief, where all the villagers are already gathered. The chief says the reward is ready, but if he believes he has done the right thing, then he can take it. As Woo-ryong reaches out to take the money, the chief's son cuts his fingers. He screams in pain. Then the chief throws his bag on the ground, which contains a map of Korea and the note. The villagers are uneducated, so they believe whatever the chief says. The chief shows them the map and claims that Woo-ryong created the smoke signal on the mountain to guide communist soldiers to the village. The villagers start accusing him. Young-nam, who was sleeping inside, hears the noise and comes out. Seeing his father's injured hand, he starts crying. The chief then claims that the boy is not even his son and that everything is an act. After that, the chief takes away Woo-ryong's flute and says he will never be able to play it again. At that moment, Mi-suk also arrives there. Seeing the situation, she becomes very afraid. Out of fear, she agrees with the chief's accusations. She says that Woo-ryong tried to take her away and that he is a spy. Hearing this, the villagers start beating him severely. They continue beating him and would have killed him. At that moment, Mi-suk comes out again severely injured. She has been stabbed in the stomach. Before dying, in that condition, she keeps repeating the words of the old shaman. She says that the day when there will be no sun in the sky during the day and no moon at night, that day he will come as the form of death. After saying this, she falls to the ground and dies. In reality, the spirit of the old shaman had entered her. Fear spreads among the villagers and they remember their past sins. Many years ago, when the shaman allowed them to stay again, the number of rats had increased so much that they started eating even cats. Because of this, the chief and his men trapped the shaman and the sick people inside that cave to reduce the rat problem for some time. The rats inside the cave ate those sick people and only the shaman survived. After some time, the chief brought the shaman out and told him that he could live like before and that he would provide all the facilities. But the shaman refused to listen to such a criminal. He then cursed the chief, saying that the day when there would be no sun in the sky during the day and no moon at night, that day their death would come before them and make them pay for all their crimes. Since he did not agree with the chief on the chief's orders, his men, they burned the shaman alive. While dying, the shaman cursed the entire village, saying that their children would be lost in darkness. Because of this, the chief never told the villagers that the war outside had ended. He did not want anyone to leave the village and reveal his crimes to the outside world. Because of Mi-suk, the chief's plan fails, and now he cannot kill Woo-ryong even if he wants to. So he gives him food and tells him to leave far away and never return. Woo-ryong quietly leaves with his son. While walking through the forest, due to heavy blood loss, Woo-ryong becomes very weak. He sits under a tree to rest. Young-nam is also very hungry. As he is about to eat the food given by the chief, he remembers that his father's flute is still at the chief's house. So he runs back quietly to retrieve it. He takes the flute and starts returning to his father. Meanwhile, when Woo-ryong regains consciousness, he sees that a squirrel nearby has died after eating the food given by the chief. This shocks him. The chief had mixed poison in their food. Realizing this, Woo-ryong runs toward his son. Meanwhile, young Nam, out of hunger, eats the food given by the chief. Shortly after eating, he starts vomiting blood and falls to the ground. Woo-ryong keeps searching for his son and finally finds him taking his last breaths. He sees his son slowly slipping away from him forever. Woo-ryong breaks down in tears. After that, he carries his son's body to the mountain. He decides to punish the village in a way they could never imagine. He goes to the top of the mountain, prepares a funeral pyre, and says goodbye to his son before lighting it. He also pours the white powder into the fire, causing the smoke to spread down the mountain into the village. The villagers become affected by the smoke and lose control. After that, he goes to the cave and removes the large stone from the entrance. At that moment, dark clouds cover the moon, just as the shaman had cursed. From his injured fingers, he spreads blood from the cave toward the village so that the smell attracts the rats back to the village. Then he starts playing the flute and leads all the rats back into the village. The rats spread throughout the village and begin attacking the people one by one. Then the rats reach the chief's son Namso and kill him as well. After that, the chief wakes up and comes outside. He sees that rats have spread everywhere in the village. At that moment, Woo-ryong stands in front of him. Woo-ryong tells him that he is so cruel that he poisoned a 10-year-old child. Then he starts playing the flute. The rats begin to follow the chief. He tries to run, but all escape paths are blocked. The rats attack him. He screams for help, but there is no one left to help him. In this way, the chief dies. The next morning, it is seen that only the children are alive in the village. At that moment, Woo-ryong arrives there. When he plays the flute, the children become drawn to the sound and start following him. He leads them through the forest and takes them to the same cave where the rats were trapped. Then, one by one, he sends the children inside the cave and closes the entrance forever. This scene shows clearly that the children will face the same fate as the sick people earlier. At the end, Woo-ryong is shown looking straight ahead, as if he wants to say something. What he wants to say can be shared in the comments. This was today's story. Let us know how you liked it. If you liked it, please like, comment, and share. See you in the next story.